What's up, Eagles fans, and welcome into the All-22 review driven by AAA. I'm Fran Duffy, joined by NFL Film senior producer Greg Cosell. And Greg, the Eagles fall 27-21 here, down in Tampa Bay against the Buccaneers, who are now 2-0. Tough game for this Eagles team, things that they would like to have back on both sides of the football. Tampa Bay came back aggressive on offense, much like what we saw in Week 1. The Eagles made some plays in this game, though, on defense, and we'll see how they were able to keep them off the scoreboard early on. But before we get to those plays, obviously the Bucs come out aggressive, like I said. They score on the very first play, a deep ball to Deshaun Jackson, 75 yards. But 7-0 Bucs. They go back and forth a little bit here. The Bucs are now moving again. They've got the ball past midfield. The Eagles' defense makes a play. Tell us what we're seeing here from the Bucs on offense first.
Well, one thing we know about Dirk Koetter, and we saw it last week with Ryan Fitzpatrick, but it's been Dirk Kutter's MO throughout his career, is this is a team that attacks vertically, and they run a lot of deeper crossing routes.
Yep.
So you have to be prepared to defend those. And here you see O.J. Howard. It's a 3-by-1 set. He's the inside slot, and he's going to run a crosser at a pretty good level, the intermediate level. So the Eagles are playing a zone coverage here.
Yep.
And what happens is, what you want to do with crossers, obviously, is you want to show yourself to the receiver. You want to make him think he's going to get hit as he catches the ball, if you can't get there to break up the throw.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happens here, because Rodney McLeod's going to do that. But we can start this up, and you can see that Howard from the inside slot is running the crosser. And right about here, if you freeze it right, that's a pretty good spot, because you can see Rodney McLeod right here. He's getting ready now. He knows he can't make a play on the ball. But what he has to do is present himself so he at least makes Howard think that he's going to get hit. And that's exactly what happens, Fran. And so Howard actually loses this ball as we let this run. He loses the ball just before McLeod's able to hit him. It pops up in the air. Ronald Darby makes the interception. That's just good defense, being in the right spot.
Yeah, it looks like some kind of single high coverage from the Eagles there. You have Rodney McLeod rolled underneath. We saw them take away some of those deep shots early in the game, but the Bucs were able to obviously put some points on the board. So we see one big play here, the turnover by Ronald Darby, a big play to help set up the Eagles' first touchdown. So the Eagles have the ball now in the second quarter, and we're going to see a critical third down conversion here from this Eagles offense, Greg, and it comes off a staple pass concept for Doug Peterson and this Eagles offense, a version of the three-level stretch where they're attacking all three levels of the field. Why don't you draw this play up for us here on the slash angle? Yeah,
we call it a flood concept. You're right. It's a three-level stretch. All that means is that there's routes at all three levels: vertical, intermediate, and short. So what you're ultimately going to see, and you can draw it up for us. Let's start vertical down. So you're seeing Shelton Gibson out here on the outside. He's basically going to run the deep post. And then you're going to get Nelson Aguilar, who's number 3 inside, in the inside slot. He's going to run the intermediate route. And then you're going to get Kamir Aiken. He's going to run the short route. So it's 3 levels. Now, more often than not, you call this because you're attacking a zone coverage, and the Bucs are a high percentage zone coverage team, playing a lot of cover 3, cover 4. Here they happen to line up and play man-to-man, but they still run, obviously it's a play call, they run the flood concept, the 3-level stretch, and we can run it and see exactly how it plays out. The ball will go to Nelson Aguilar as we start this up. Aguilar, remember, he's in the inside slot, runs a nice route, the intermediate route, big third down conversion, and he ran that route. He was actually against a safety there, Justin Evans, so you had the wide receiver on a safety.
Yeah, so the Bucs are sending pressure there on that play. They get caught in man coverage, like you said, and the Eagles pick up a critical third down, help set up their first touchdown of the game. 2. So after that big conversion to Nelson Aguilar, the Eagles have the ball in the high red zone, and we're going to see a touchdown run from Corey Clement here off outside zone. Greg, tell us what we're seeing here and why it happens.
A staple run, obviously, in the Eagles offense. We talk about their zone concepts all the time. We've been doing that for a couple of years. Here it's just straight outside zone with Nick Foles under center. Corey Clement is the I-back. He's about 8 yards behind Foles. That's about normal for an I-back. And it's going to be to the short side of the field, to the boundary side, the left of the formation. So what you really need here are you really need your left guard, Stefan Wisniewski, and your left tackle, Vaitai, to make really good blocks front side. And it's a really difficult block here for Wisniewski because he has to really turn and seal the defensive tackle, who's the 3 technique defensive tackle here. And now there's another key block here on the backside. We've talked about this numerous times with Brandon Brooks and how good he is at getting up to the second level to seal the backside pursuit. So this is a really good job, well executed. Let's start this play, and we can see it play out as we look to the left. Right about here, that is absolutely perfect to see what's happening. First, let's start front side, right there. You get Vaitai, very important. He kicks out because of the position of the defensive end. Then what do we talk about, if you want to draw that, Fran, was with Newski. He has to sort of turn and seal because of the position of the defensive tackle. He does a really, really good job. That's a difficult block. Yep. And then, of course, Brandon Brooks, seems like we talk about him every week, does a great job with his light feet for that size, getting up to the second level and totally sealing and cutting off the backside pursuit. Let this run now, and you'll see that Clement now has just a clear path. He's not even touched till he gets to the 1 yard line. That's outside zone blocked about as well as you can do it.
Let's talk about the patience needed for a good zone runner. You saw that a little bit from Clement there, allowing those blocks to develop. What kind of traits do you usually need to be a successful zone runner?
Well, outside zone, because the back turns his body to the outside, which is different than inside zone. The back turns his body to the outside. So he's not necessarily looking for 2 or 3 different spots that he could possibly go through. He's working off, and I think this is coached differently by different coaches. It all depends, I think, on the tackle and what he initially does, because sometimes, depending on the defensive end and the block made by the widest offensive lineman, the tackle, sometimes he can push him inside, and you can go outside the tackle. Sometimes he then pushes him to the outside, and you work inside of him, as Corey Clement did here. So you're really working off the tackle, and then obviously the next block inside is the guard in this case. Then you have to read that as well. So there is a patience and a vision element involved with this. You can't just go. You have to see how the blocks work in front of you.
Yeah, so great job there by the offensive line, and then also by Corey Clement. Gets the Eagles on the board, makes it 7-7 just before half, few minutes left here in the second quarter. All right, Greg, let's now look at a play midway through the fourth quarter now where the Eagles are trying to mount a comeback, and you see this touchdown pass on 4th and goal from Nick Foles to Nelson Agholor. And really, to me, this kind of speaks to the receiver that Nelson Agholor has become, because his release off the line of scrimmage here in the red zone in a clutch situation, it's a thing of beauty what he does to the rookie M.J. Stewart. We
got a little excited when we saw this play, thinking maybe we'd have a comeback here. But this is a 2-man route concept. It's a flat 7. And why don't you draw that up? Because you're going to get the 7 route by Nelson Agholor in the slot, and you're going to get the flat route by Shelton Gibson, and you have man-to-man coverage here. But you hit it right on the head. There's not a lot of room. You're in the tight red zone. Okay, you're inside the 5-yard line. So the routes have to be run with absolute precision. If they're off by just a little bit, this throw can't be made. So you mentioned Agholor. What he does so well with his release is get M.J. Stewart, the rookie slot corner for the Bucs, turned to the inside. So what that allows him to do now, he wins the leverage game right off the bat, and that's absolutely critical. If Agholor just runs straight, he doesn't gain the leverage needed to run the 7 route. So let's clear this, Fran, and let's see that happen now. And if we run this now, we can see exactly what Agholor did. Boom, look at that right there, and it frees it right about there. See how he's won right now? He's won to the outside, and because there's not a lot of space, you have to do that as quickly as possible. And because it's man coverage, the other corner is matched on Gibson. He's not going to be a big factor, but this was still really a very tight window throw right there. This is beautiful. So let's clear it, and now we can see the throw. The corner does drop off, and Nick Foles made about as beautiful a throw as you could make on that, because there's not a lot of space and you're working, like I said, in the tight red zone. Yeah, so it makes it 27-21. The Eagles unable to get a stop there at the end of the game, but outstanding throw and catch there from Nelson Agholor and Nick Foles to help bring it within a score. Just couldn't get it all done today. Obviously, a tough outing for this Eagles team. Yeah, and it was probably a tough outing for the Eagles defense. We're not used to seeing that with the Jim Schwartz defense. They normally play at such a high level week in and week out. But the Bucs with Ryan Fitzpatrick, they're on a nice little roll offensively, and they have a lot of weapons. We saw that today. Yep, and they're going to come off this game with another team next week coming to the link that just had a win today in the Indianapolis Colts. So another test here against Andrew Luck and that Colts offense next week. But for Greg Cosell, I'm Fran Duffy. Thanks for tuning in here to the All-22 review, driven by AAA.